Hey everyone, what's going on? Recently I made a video talking about how I hadn't made videos for a while because of all this negative energy that I've been just feeling, and just something doesn't feel right with what is going on. And I elaborated a little bit more in a blog post after I made that video, just explaining a little bit more of what is going on. There's sometime seems like it reminds me a lot of 2016. In December of 2016 and onward, I was feeling the same negative energy. And remember, there was a big attack Zach thing going on. We had the guy in the checkered mask named Montegraph who told Zach to watch out for Christmas Eve, and then a car crashed into Zach's house, right? And around the same time, some guy started a blog mocking my blog, and this was all before we learned reverse gematria. We had this big revelation of understanding with these other ciphers, and especially the reverse method. And what was so interesting about all of that was this guy, he starts this blog mocking my blog, and his name's James Jumper on his blog, and that in reverse gematria equals 166. And reverse gematria just so happens to equal 166. And this was at the time when it was all about flipping the script, right? The Colts and the Vikings both got eliminated from the playoffs on Christmas Eve as well. And, Zach had that car crash, but a couple weeks later, my uncle died in a car crash, and it was a very mysterious car crash. He went to Minnesota to the Mayo Clinic, and on his way home, for whatever the reason, he decided to drive like miles off the highway, the main highway, in the wrong direction, and totaled his car. And then the next day, he died at the Jesuit hospital. And then when his autopsy came back, they said he didn't have an aneurysm, he didn't die from cancer, he died from injuries that he sustained in this car crash that makes absolutely no sense. But my family, they won't question it. They don't even think about it. Like, what was he doing going 5 miles in the wrong direction? Or, yeah, I think it was 5 miles off the main highway going in the wrong direction, like not even coming home. It doesn't make sense that he would die that way. And the same day that he died, I got a letter in the mail with $300 in it that basically said that I should just start following God and believing in God and quit doing all of these videos and so on. I don't know the exact words, I'm paraphrasing. It was a long letter. And I've received other letters from this person that the last one was about the Golden Gate Bridge and Pope Francis. So I'm just throwing this out there because later on I'm going to talk more about the Golden Gate Bridge and the stuff that I've been talking about for a long time. So the main reason that I did bring that up, though, was because I went back and kind of was looking at these connections. In 2017, I documented a whole lot of this stuff in regards to the angel Gabriel and how it syncs up to me and Zachary K. Hubbard, right? And in the Bible, the angel Gabriel only goes to Zechariah, Daniel, and then also the Virgin Mary. He tells the Virgin Mary she's going to birth Jesus, and Zechariah is the father of John the Baptist. So he went for John the Baptist to be born, and then also the birth of Jesus. But he also talked to Daniel, and just think about that, Zechariah, Daniel, and so on. And I'll explain why the Mary thing is very important here in a second, but in regards to the Golden Gate Bridge, this is a very interesting piece that I just discovered. I just wondered how much, I knew I was really close to the same age as Zach. I knew I was a little bit older than him, and I wondered, how much older am I than Zach? And I checked it out, and I just so happened to be 8 months and 11 days older than Zach. And if you've been following Zach, one of the major things that he's been talking about is the third temple and also the date of August 11th as a possible, big day, false flag, something very important is looking to happen on that day, August 11th. And it's a day that I have been mentioning for a long time. And clear back in 2015, I talked about Philadelphia and how it's important to earthquakes, and Hulk Hogan, whose birthday is August 11th. And Hulk Hogan, if you remember, he got his ribs broken by an earthquake, and he got his revenge in Philadelphia at the Spectrum Center. And he got his revenge at, well, it's called the Spectrum, but it was in Philadelphia at SummerSlam. And what's really interesting about that is that this year, if you look up SummerSlam, SummerSlam just so happens to fall on August 11th. Let me find it here. SummerSlam this year, August 11th, 2019. What are the odds of that? All the stuff with earthquakes. It all stemmed back to this movie Happy Gilmore, too. And in Happy Gilmore, he learns how to putt on the Earthquake golf course. And the building that falls over has this black cube on the top of it. And supposedly the black cube represents the New Jerusalem that is built around the third temple, right? So what are the odds of this, right? This is the Comcast Center in Philadelphia that has the black cube on the top. The Earthquake golf course knocks over the building with the black cube on the top that represents the New Jerusalem, that is the city that is built around the third temple. And it's really important to Adam Sandler as well. Adam Sandler's birthday is 9/9, and we're in the 99th season of the NFL. And what I was talking about in 2015 was all this stuff connected to the Chicago Bears. They even had the movie The Revenant come out, right? And then, of course, it was super connected to the '85 Bears, and the Panthers lost in the Super Bowl to the Patriots and whatnot. But Adam Sandler's birthday was 9/9. Chubbs, who teaches him how to putt, is also Apollo Creed, who dies in 1985, the same year, the '85 Bears and whatnot. The day that he died, though, was exactly 99 years after the worst ever East Coast earthquake in the United States in 1886 in Charleston. There's all this stuff connected to 99. And it's even interesting, too, if you go and listen to the 99th episode of the Gematria Effect, there's a bunch of people that are talking shit about me on that episode, too. And they're telling me that I shouldn't be talking about these connections in my own life and whatever else. So there's something very interesting going on here. The Gematria Effect, there's been lots and lots of times I've had synchronicity with it. And, there's something strange about the people that call into that show. I feel like they're calling in because they want me to hear it, if that makes any sense. And you might think it's crazy, but there was one kid a long time ago who would call in and he would read directly off my blog, like identical, word for word, what I had on my blog. And then, no big deal. I don't care. Spread the knowledge. That's what I want, but it just seems so odd. Like they were calling in, and they were calling in from New Jersey, and there was another guy who talked shit on me from New Jersey, and that Bridgegate thing that I was talking about, that began on 9/9, and I was connected to New Jersey and a bunch of other things. But just this number 99, it's important. But in the movie Pixels, like right when that movie first came out, I watched it and I talked about how the cover is a cover of Pac-Man eating San Francisco, but yet in the movie they never once go to San Francisco. So, they were pointing to something to do with San Francisco, and even in the very beginning, when the aliens first come down, they're all the black cubes, right? Bunch of black cubes, and then we got this black cube on top of where he learns how to putt that looks like the Comcast Center in Philadelphia. Philadelphia comes from the book of Revelation. So that's also too, look, I'm 8 months and 11 days older than Zach, but it's also 253 days. Well, that's interesting because Philadelphia, Pennsylvania equals 253, you know? And Zach's birthday is the 202nd day of the year, and my name in Gematria equals 202. And that was an important thing, right? End of the world equals 202, red heifer equals 202. Pretty sure that's why George Bush died too. Because in Skull and Bones, that equals 202. They called him Magog. And if you look up Magog in the Bible, it talks about the the what is it? Gog and Magog, and there's a battle that is attacking the basically it tries to Gog and Magog tries to attack uh, Jerusalem, right? And before the temple was even built. So the reason it stands out so much is because in 2015 I made this video how World War III might possibly begin on August 12th because it's the day that leaves 141 days in the year. And if you write out World War III, it equals 141. And the reason that it's so interesting to August 11th is because 811 is the 141st prime number. And that's why in 2015 as well, we had the Triple Crown winner of American Pharaoh, and he won the Kentucky Derby on May 2nd. It was the 141st Kentucky Derby, but he is sponsored by Call 811, right? The thing you're supposed to do before you dig and think about fracking and think about earthquakes. Also, in gematria, Saturn's cube equals 811. Right? This is supposed to represent the cube of Saturn. Saturn's cube equals 811 in Jewish gematria of all gematrias, to speaking of the temple and whatnot. So one other thing that I forgot to add in regards to Hulk Hogan and George Bush. George Bush even died 8 months and 12 days before August 11th. A lot like that date that I was talking about with World War III, but Hulk Hogan's important because think about George Bush and, the NWO and also 9/11. And 9/11 is the destruction of the two towers and Tisha B'Av that falls on August 11th this year, or this coming year, is about the destruction of the two temples, right? And if you write out Tisha B'Av, it equals 911 in Jewish gematria. And think about that just in regards to Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was the mega powers that when he was a mega power with Macho Man Randy Savage, and when they said they fought the Twin Towers. Remember that? The mega powers versus the Twin Towers, and then Macho Man says, and the towers are gonna come crumbling down or whatever, right? And then later on when Hulk Hogan got his revenge on Earthquake at the Spectrum in Philadelphia, the his original tag team person got beat up or something, and he had to have the big boss man come and help him, and the big boss man was part of the Twin Towers. So there's definitely something very interesting about Hulk Hogan. And, his birthday is the same day as London Breed, who is the mayor of San Francisco. And remember the word earthquake in gematria equals 44. And I believe she just turned 44 years old this year in 2018. And remember how I was talking about bridge collapses all year, and then we got that bridge collapse on March 15th this year? Well, March 15th just so happens to be the 44th mayor of San Francisco's birthday. Just go look it up. The 44th mayor of San Francisco, that was his birthday, and he just so happened to turn 44 years old that day. And, well, let me find the post really quick. This guy right here, the day of that bridge collapse, the Florida Atlantic one, or the FIU bridge collapse, the 44th mayor of San Francisco turned 44 years old. And he was the mayor on January 23rd, which just so happened to be 4 months and 4 days before the anniversary of the Golden Gate Bridge. And then now we have, London Breed. She turned 44 years old. She's the current mayor of San Francisco. If you go from WrestleMania this year, this coming year, to SummerSlam, it's also 4 months and 4 days. A lot like Earthquake. So I don't know. I feel like it's connected to Philadelphia still. I feel like it's important to Philadelphia. Last year, I talked about that's why we had that 4.1 earthquake that was felt in Philadelphia. Then the Eagles went on to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl equals 41, and they won with 41 points. And in 2015, when I was talking about all this bridge stuff, it was important to Philadelphia. But I also talked about how it was important to San Francisco. And the two towns are just intertwined. They have a lot of interesting connections. That's why the Golden State Warriors used to be the Philadelphia Warriors. You got the Oakland Athletics. They used to be the Philadelphia Athletics. There's a huge connection there. You know, it's funny. I just don't know how to organize this information sometimes, but I randomly wrote in here too that an interesting thing about Zach's birthday, the 202nd day of the year, and August 11th is Robin Williams, who was a comedian who was out of San Francisco. His birthday is the same as Zach's birthday, and he died on August 11th of 2014. And I feel like his death was it awoken a lot of people or something. I don't know why, but his death was really important to a lot of people. And I have this weird memory of the day that he died. I was at the grocery store and I looked up at the sky and there was a cloud that looked exactly like Robin Williams. And I pointed it out to my girlfriend. And my girlfriend even actually agreed with me. And she doesn't like any of this stuff. And she looked up at the sky and saw the cloud. She's like, holy cow, it really does look like Robin Williams. So I don't know. It's just a memory that I have. And I've been following some things with Robin Williams as of late too. The Fisher King was important too. It has Jeff Bridges in it, and Jeff Bridges is important too. I just documented about him, and one of them awards that's coming up. He's getting a special award, and right here, a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Golden Globes. It's all about the moon. So I don't know. Maybe I'll make another video on that, but you know, just interesting. There's something with Robin Williams. He's in that movie called Awakening. It's about L-Dopa and whatnot. So some interesting things with that. But I guess anyway, one other thing that I found was interesting. This upcoming year in February, it's going to be the Chinese Year of the Pig, which these years are seemingly important, right? It's the Year of the Pig coming up. And in regards to all this Angel Gabriel stuff, so if you've been following me all summer, this major thing I was talking about that I thought was connected to the Indians, and it still is connected to the Indians, but they didn't go on to the World Series. But there's something really important to it. This date of 624, that's the day modern Freemasonry was supposedly founded. The word Jesuit equals 624, and, much, much more. But it was also important to, my family in general. My son was born 6 months and 24 days after 624. And what was it? My Uncle Clancy died 6 months and 24 days before my birthday. And he died 6 months and 24 days after my grandma died in 2017. It's just something really, really important with this date of 624. But if you look up the date of 624, it's like a feast day for John the Baptist, right? John the Baptist, a feast day for him as well. And think about that in regards to the angel Gabriel and Zechariah, right? And I guess it just really sticks out to me in regards to 2017. A big thing I was talking about was all about the angel Gabriel. And then 2018, the major thing that I was following was with 624. So it's just interesting how it syncs up to, you know, that date is important to John the Baptist as well. And then talking about the angel Gabriel and so on. So the angel Gabriel is really important to the Quran as well, right? The angel Gabriel is supposedly who gave the revelation to Muhammad, right? So just it's really important to what's going on with the third temple and whatever else, So just wanted to point all that out. The angel Gabriel, important to all this. And the reason that I think Mary is so important to this year of the pig that is upcoming is just because of all of that stuff that I was talking about. So in 2016, before Zach's house was crashed into, before we knew reverse gematria, before we didn't really understand reverse gematria. Derek had it, whatever, but it wasn't on the calculator and so on. And we didn't understand the importance of it until later on. It was after December. It was after my uncle died on January 14th of 2017. And so we had Zach's car crash, and then that some guy started a blog mocking my blog, and his name just so happened to equal 166. And like I said, reverse gematria equals 166. Even on that blog, he refers to me as Nad. And, Nad. N-A-D, my name in reverse. Why would he do that? This was before we were even talking about reverse gematria. And he always constantly would talk about how I would talk about the number 166 and making fun of that. And it's like, well, he refers to me as my name in reverse, and then his name equals 166 in reverse, just like reverse gematria. And my uncle who died, his name equaled 166, and he was married to Betty. His name was Barney, like the Flintstones. If you look at the Flintstones, they only aired 166 episodes, and it's based off of the real-life TV show called The Honeymooners. Honeymooners, the gematria equals 166. I asked my mom 166 days after his birthday what his birthday was. Just randomly, I wanted to know what his birthday was because I knew there was something important because he gave me this Miami Dolphin jersey, and it was showing me to look up the Simpsons episode where the Falcons lost in the Super Bowl, and then the Falcons did go on to lose in the Super Bowl. And the town that my uncle died just before getting to was their mascot was the Falcon and a bunch of other stuff. But his name 166, I found out 166 days after his birthday, when his birthday was. The place that I found out was the gold slipper that equals 166. Flintstones, 166 episodes. There's this humongous important number. And then I found out reverse gematria equals 166. And I talked about it like crazy. And then later on in April 25th of 2017, Monograph came out with another video telling Zach that the next thing he needs to watch for is 166. And Zach made a blog post about it because he's talking about, Twin Towers equal 166 and a bunch of other things. And I wrote a message to him on his blog how because in his blog he mentioned that he watched my recent video where I talked a lot about the number 166. And then Monograph makes this video 166 days after my birthday. And that was that big number that I was talking about like crazy, right? Before my uncle died or when my uncle died. And I just mentioned to Zach on his blog about it. I mentioned how, I mentioned the angel Gabriel and how it's connected to Zachariah, Daniel, and Mary. And I wondered if there's possibly a truth seeker out there that was named Mary. There's not very many women that were around at this time and, even making videos and whatever else. And the very next night, this lady named Mary Toffelmeyer calls into the Gematria Effect, and she's talking about how she's Monograph's latest victim. And it just so happens it's this lady right here. I mean, who knows why she has the 33 on the hand here and whatever else. But it's just suspicious to me. And like her name in Gematria, we'll pull up just the main one here. her name in gematria just so happened to equal 166. And I thought, what are the odds? I'm talking about all these 166s with this in regards to monograph. Then she calls into the gematria effect the next night and says she's his latest victim and her name equals 166. And this video comes out 166 days after my birthday. And what was even more interesting was she kept calling him a pig, and then she said that they were trying to attack her pet pig. And at the time, my daughter had just went to bed, and she had two stuffed animal pet pigs, or stuffed animal pigs, and she was calling them her pets. And she put them by me and told me to watch them while she went to sleep. So I was supposed to babysit her pet pigs. And then I'm listening to the gematria effect, and this lady's talking about her pet pig. And she's calling Montegraph a pig, right? What are the odds of that? That is some strange stuff. And in Jewish gematria, Jewish gematria, look what the word pigs equals. Pigs equals 166, right? And now this year is going to be the year of the pig. It just seems interesting to me. It sticks out a lot. And all of this negative energy, I'm telling you, it reminds me of 2016. There's seemingly some big revelation that we're going to learn. Again, something new. We're going to learn some big and important piece to how all of this works. All of this negative energy, I feel like it's going to be, we're going to get something good out of this. But I also hope that a bunch of bad things don't start happening too. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm definitely deep into this game here, and there are definitely people who are doing things on purpose to either guide me along or manipulate me, or I don't understand what is fully going on. But there is something that doesn't make sense with all of this, right? And I'm just trying to piece it all together. You know, there's something screwy going on. Even what else is weird is what I also documented was how on Monograph's page that day, he had this listed on there too. DB-SF April 17. And this came on, it was on April 25th. So, I don't know, it just makes me wonder. Like, them are my initials, DB, right? And then SF, San Francisco possibly. You know, I don't know. But I remember thinking that a long time ago. And, you know, what I find super duper interesting too is that April 17, I thought that was the year maybe, you know, April of 2017. But then, you know, a year later in 2018, on April 17th, my Uncle Clancy died, all connected to that number 624. So, I don't know. I'm just thinking about it. It just seems really weird. And I know that he made that video because it was connected to me. You know, 166 days after my birthday, he says the number's 166. And then Mary Toffelmeyer calls into the gematria effect, and her name equals 166. And they know exactly, you know, they know she's talking about her pigs or whatever. And I'm sitting by these two stuffed animal pet pigs. It's just something, it doesn't add up, you know, it doesn't make sense. So this energy is definitely, you know, the numbers that he was telling Zach in 2016 before his house got crashed into, the letters that he said was like CHRE, can't remember what the letters were, but if you did the letters, it equaled 138 in reverse gematria, and just like Zachary Hubbard in, you know, in gematria. So like, this was before we knew reverse gematria. They were doing all of these codings within the reverse method. And, you know, we didn't know it at the time. But when you look back on it, you're like, that's what they were doing. They were showing us what was up. Just kind of looking back at it here. I still even have the clips here, you know. And there was a lot to do with the number 7 back then, too. I was talking about the 7 archangels and the 7 rings of Saturn or something. I can't remember what all I was talking about back then, but there was the new movie called The Ring had just came out, and it was about 7 days. And there was a movie called Arrival that was about this futuristic type movie where the aliens come to teach the humans a ring language, and they were seven-limbed aliens in that movie. But in the movie The Ring, the guy is Professor Gabriel, which was, the angel Gabriel and whatnot. So, and when I went and looked at one of these videos here, the first comment was Archangel Gabriel or Archangel 777. So I'll leave some video links in the description. I made videos on this before, but I wanted to re-bring it up just because of the year of the pig. I thought it was interesting, and I don't know. I just feel like there's something important to all of this and how it syncs up. So 166 is the number on that drone in the movie called Oblivion as well, where it has shows the collapsed bridge on the front cover, and then they say that's where the last Super Bowl was played and whatnot. So let's go back and I want to see if I missed anything. This August 11th date, it's the day that leaves, what is it? Or I'm trying to think. August 11th, could be 11/8 or 8/11. And Philadelphia, Pennsylvania equals 118 as well. So 118. If you've been following my blog, I mentioned a lot about this number 164, and I don't know what it fully means. Can't grasp what's going on with it, but Hulk Hogan's name equals it 2 times, his full name and then just Terry Bollea. That also equals 164. Hulk Hogan's important to Philadelphia too, with all the Civil War type theming that they've done, all the race stuff, the kneeling during the national anthem, and the flag being sewn at 239 Arch Street in Philadelphia, and so on. In history, Abraham Lincoln was shot with a gun called the Philadelphia Derringer, and Hulk Hogan, Mr. America and whatever, right? His theme song was "I Am a Real American," that was written by Rick Derringer. So when Pope Francis came to the United States, he gave a speech in Philadelphia using Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address lectern. So Philadelphia is really important to this. And Pope Francis's visit, Pope Francis, named after St. Francis of Assisi, the guy who received the first stigmata. And that's also what San Francisco is named after. And then, of course, San Francisco equals 122. It's on the 122nd meridian. Pope Francis equals 122. Liberty Bell equals 122. I thought somebody said at one time that the Liberty Bell was also either supposed to be in San Francisco or got moved, something to do with San Francisco and the Liberty Bell. I can't remember what it was, but it has to be why we got that story of the Incredible Hulk guy being hospitalized too, because it's synced up to Hulk Hogan, and we got the death of Stan Lee. Hulk Hogan's also from Augusta, Georgia, where the Super Bowl is going to be held, Georgia at least. Augusta is important. Think about August. Think about Augustus, the first ruler of the Roman Empire, whose birthday was September 23rd. It was really important to Pope Francis's visit to the United States. This bear symbolism with Happy Gilmore, the reason that the bear symbolism was so important too was because California became a state on the date of 9/9, and their state flag has the grizzly bear on it, and it's in honor of Grizzly Adams, right? And that's why Happy Gilmore was important, because just before that Super Bowl in January of 2016, when we had the Revenant come out and whatnot, we had the death of Grizzly Adams. And think about Happy Gilmore, where he says Grizzly Adams did have a beard, right? It's synced up to that. And he even meets him at the ninth green at 9, and Adam Sandler's birthday's on 9/9. In the very beginning of that movie, he wears the Warriors shirt, and then the Warriors, whatever, the Warriors lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA Finals. And that year was also all synced up to the Carolinas and King Charles, right? The, what was it? The World Series in 2015 was, trying to think. Or the World Series was all about Back to the Future in 1985 when the Royals won. The Royals won for the first time since 1985, and the World Series began on the same day that Marty McFly comes back to the future and whatnot. That's why the Cubs lost, got eliminated from the playoffs on Back to the Future Day. But that was all about the year 85, talking about the 85 Bears. Then we had Clemson and Alabama play, right? Clemson's from the Carolinas, and there was a bunch of stuff with the number 85. The one guy wearing the wristband at 85 or something. Then we had the Super Bowl that was synced up to the 85 Bears. We had the Carolina Panthers, and I can't even remember all of them. Wasn't it didn't North Carolina win? They won or lost in the they lost in the college championship, and then we had the Carolinas are named in honor of King Charles, right? And then we had the Cavaliers go on to win the NBA Finals. And the Cavaliers, a follower of King Charles during the English Civil War. We had Coastal Carolina win the College World Series that year as well. It was all about the Carolinas, and, I don't know. Just something important to think about, I guess. I also talked a lot about Michael Jordan in 2015 and how he was synced up to Philadelphia, and also Kobe Bryant. And Michael Jordan owns, Charlotte now. That's where the NBA All-Star Week is going to happen this year. On Michael Jordan's birthday is when the All-Star Game is going to happen. And the reason Michael Jordan was so important to Philadelphia was because the original capital of the country called Jordan was called Philadelphia. And then it was taken over by the Romans, and then it was later destroyed by earthquakes. So, the capital of the country, Jordan, used to be called Philadelphia, and supposedly it was destroyed by earthquakes in the year 106 AD, and Michael Jordan retired on 10/6 for the first time, and a bunch more. But that the place that the All-Star game in the NBA is going to be held this year in Charlotte is just so happens to be called the Spectrum Center, right? The Spectrum Center. Think about Hulk Hogan getting his revenge on Earthquake in Philadelphia at the Spectrum. So it's definitely interrelated. It's all synced up. So I'm gonna leave it there. Hopefully, I think I got the point across. There's just so much random information, and you have to be following me to understand what I'm talking about. Well, there's definitely this negative energy. It's definitely purposely being put here, and you know, I'm starting to piece it together and figure out the point of it all, if that makes sense. It's starting to make a lot more sense in my brain. Hopefully, I described some of it well enough, but it definitely goes back to a lot of these things. And what are the odds that, you know, I'm 8 months and 11 days older than Zach? And that's the big thing that he's been talking about. And, whatever. I talked about it all before, the Black Cube and the New Jerusalem and whatnot. So, we'll leave it at that. Have a good one. Peace.